as they join in. So that's totally fine. So if you want to be on video, you can, even though you definitely don't have to. And I can control that up here. If you accidentally like put yourself on video, I can take you off. And then you can stay on mute as well. But I first wanted to say thanks for joining me on a Friday night. Hope you guys brought your Friday night beverage. Feel free to message me in the text box. Do you guys all see the chat? It's down at the bottom. Click chat and it'll pop up in a window. And if you could chat and type in what your biggest budget concern is, what is the hardest part about budgeting for your family, I would love for you to write that down so that I can make sure through my presentation that I hit on that point. So if you have something that has always been like an issue for getting started with budgeting or staying on top of it, or figuring out what to use or any of those things, put it in the comments, put it in the chat box, and I will make sure to address it. But let's go ahead and get started. So first things first, budgeting is not fun or sexy or cool, but it can be freeing. So knowing exactly what's coming in, knowing exactly what's going out allows you to make better choices, and that gives you a lot of freedom. So budgets don't necessarily have to be completely restrictive. You can make sure you got a line in there for your target runs. But the budget is there to make sure you're not overdoing it, right? And you're not overextending yourself. And it's there for making goals and saving money for things that really do matter in the future. So if you don't have a good understanding of where you are, then all of a sudden money becomes like this dirty word, and it causes issues either personally or with your significant other, or just when you are in a Target and you want to buy the thing and you feel like you can't, or you feel guilty for when you do because you don't know how all that's playing with your overall budget. So I know so many people struggle with it. I definitely have struggled with it. And so I wanted to do a quick presentation for the group on kind of my thoughts on it and how I handle my family's budget and kind of our financial picture. And it's worked really well for us for probably the last 6 or 7 years I've been doing this. So I started off kind of doing it by hand in Excel, and I've moved over to use another tool that I'm going to talk about tonight. And so I've kind of started from the bottom and worked my way up to what I have now. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully I'm going to have you chat, make sure this works. Hold on. Okay. Do you see this on my screen where it says budgeting is a bitch? Do you see that? I hope you guys are all seeing that here. Where's the chat box? There it is. Okay, will somebody go into the chat box and say yes or no? Do you see my presentation that says budgeting is a bitch? Yes, perfect. Okay, cool. All right, so let's get started. Yes, budgeting is a bitch. It's not cool. It's not fun, but we got to do it. But don't worry. You are definitely not alone in this. Oh, darn it. I wonder if you guys can still see it if I push play here. Oh, can you guys still see it? I think maybe we will work. Okay, cool. I think this is going to work. Okay, so a lot of people have issues. This article is actually recent. This was this week. 66% of millennials have nothing saved for retirement. So, millennials, we're the worst, but we've got student loan debt that we are still carving out and trying to dig out from underneath of, and that's really holding us back. So this percentage of millennials not having anything saved for retirement is really not that shocking. But millennials aren't alone. Generally, Americans aren't saving enough for retirement. It's pretty standard across the board. 42% of Americans have less than $10,000 in savings. And don't worry, girls, we really have it. We have it. We have it the worst. We typically earn less than men. We take time out of the workforce to raise our babies often, which reduces our overall earnings for our lifetime. So yay, we're really doing. Oh, but a lot of people will think if I make more money, then all my budgeting woes go away, and that's not for certain either. Man, even millionaires are struggling. They don't have any savings, so they might be bringing in a lot of money, but all that money is going out because they just don't have a good grasp of their finances. So this is what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about taking control of what you can control. So we're going to talk about tracking that shit. We're going to talk about tracking your numbers, figuring out what's in that data. We're going to figure out what's trending in what you're spending, what's coming in and what's going out. We're going to set a budget, and we're not going to forget about it. We're going to go in and we're going to manage it. We're going to adjust it as needed to fit our needs. And then we're going to communicate. We're going to communicate with our family, anybody that is contributing to the overall financial picture in your household. We're going to communicate everything that we're doing with them so everyone's on the same page and it doesn't get weird. So let's get started. So we're going to start by tracking this shit. Okay. You don't know what you don't know. So a lot of times we are making assumptions about how we use our money and what we're spending it on and what's coming in. I would say generally most people have a pretty decent grasp of their income. They see that big hefty check every other week or once a month or every week. They're seeing that check come in. They're seeing that big number coming into their bank account. Other side of it that they're not seeing is what's going out. And they make some assumptions about what they're spending their money on. A lot of people will say that they have a pretty good grasp on their money and their financial picture. And then when they get asked what they think they're spending their money on, they're most often wrong. So if you guys could just take a second and kind of mentally think about where you think your money is really going. And then once we dive into these numbers, I'm going to be curious to see if it's accurate or not. So where's all that money going? One of the things that we're going to talk about when I get into the nitty gritty here is the trending data. So you're going to have to get comfortable with seeing the uncomfortable. So you may have a hunch that your Starbucks habit is not helping things, or maybe you have a hunch that those Target runs are probably hurting you a little bit, or maybe that car loan was a little more than you should have taken on. You probably have a hunch, but you just kind of let it go because it'll all work out in the end. But you're going to have to get comfortable seeing what the real numbers are actually saying. And it's not a big deal. We're going to be here to figure out this budgeting thing, but just know as you kind of dig into this data that you're going to see some trends, and some of them may not be pretty. So it's okay. It's totally okay. But these numbers are going to start to unveil some of the habits that we've gotten into that we can totally change and totally improve and still have some fun while we're doing it. So here are some categories that most people are spending their hard-earned money on that we could really curtail a little bit. Eating out. Eating out is just one of the biggest categories. Fast food, pizza, anything that has to do with restaurants. Eating out takes a ton of your money, and it's so easy to get wrapped up in it. A $10 pizza, a $30 meal. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up. Starbucks. Oh, that Starbucks habit. Oh man, coffee a day. Those add up as well. And what about entertainment? So every time you're going out with the girls, you're going out with your significant other for date night, that $50 a night movie, again, doesn't seem like a lot, but once you add it all up, and then there's Target, the shopping, so much shopping. I don't know, maybe there's been a few more Amazon boxes piled up at your doorstep than you would really want. But shopping is definitely another place that things can get kind of out of hand when you're not keeping track of it. Now, again, this is not me saying don't do any of these things, that all the fun things must go away. Definitely not. There's plenty of room for all of these things, but you have to really understand where it's going and how much of it is going out the door. Okay, so then we're going to be talking about budgeting. So I don't want you to start thinking about your goals quite yet. So let's not think about that Cancun vacation that you really, really want to save for. First, we're going to look at the data and really dig in. We're going to find an average of what you're spending. So let's say your Target runs, for example. Let's say you've had a 3-month run of Target shopping trips, and you're 1 month you were at $200, another month you were at $500, another month you were at $50, and I'm not good at math, but let's say the average of that was like $325. That's going to be your budget to start off with. I'm talking just the average. We're not going to shoot for the lowest amount, and we're not going to shoot for something extreme like no more money at Target. That's just not realistic. You're going to bust your budget every month. You're going to feel bad about it, and then you won't stick to it. So I'm talking about something that makes complete sense of starting down the middle, finding your average and setting that as your budget. That doesn't mean we're not going to adjust it in the future, but to get started with the budget, it's a good idea to just kind of ride the middle of your average money spent in these categories. And that's a good place to start. After that, after you've kind of met those average goals for a little bit, then you can kind of expand into making some bigger goals. So saying that, I really do want that Cancun trip. So I know my average for Target was $325, but I really think I could do $295. I really think I can put that dress back. That's something I can do. That's going to save me a little extra coin at the end of the month, and that's going to go towards my Cancun goal. So again, you're starting with something super realistic, and then you can start making those bigger goals whenever you peg it back just a little bit. All right, and then the communication piece. So this is hard. This can get tricky if you have more than one person in your household that's contributing financially. Not only are they contributing, they're also a detriment to it because they're spending. So this can get a little awkward at times. And I am the financial person in our household. I am in charge of all the finances. I get a kick out of it. I don't want to say I enjoy it. That's not good. But I don't mind it. I enjoy the freedom of knowing where our money is going. My husband, on the other hand, no, that's not his thing. And so we're okay with that role. Now, I will say whenever it comes to the end of the month and I have seen our trends for that month or the month before, and I'm getting this data in and I'm seeing some bad habits starting to form, then I have kind of a meeting with him. I would say probably once a month or once every couple months, just whenever I see things starting to slip. So whenever you set those budgets, you're going to be able to see if it's trending well or if it's not, and you're going to be able to communicate with your partner or significant other to kind of talk about that. And you have to be very candid with them without being a nag about it. It's okay to bust a budget every now and again. The conversation that we usually have as a family is, hey, this month we went out to eat way too much, like that. That we were at a restaurant every week. That was stupid. That was insane. We are better than that. We've been able to stick to our budget before, so I don't know what happened this month. So let's get on track for next month. So it's more of a reminder of the budget instead of like a negative conversation about why did you do that? Why did you spend that? I can't believe you bought that thing. It's not so much about the actual action as it is about, okay, like we see that this failed this month, and that's okay. Next month we need to be better. Okay, so now you're probably like, awesome, this sounds like interesting advice, but like, how do I actually do it? So now I'm going to jump into the tool that I use. It's going to be a fairly brief overview, and I'm more than happy to walk through it with anybody that needs it a little bit more in depth. But I'm going to go over the tool I use, which is Mint, and I'm sure you guys probably have all heard of it. It's been around for quite a while, and I do remember about 6 or 7 years ago when I first started budgeting for the family, I used this for a short time, and I didn't like it. It was not as customizable as I had hoped. So yeah, I didn't love it, but came back to it, and it was all good. They have really amped up their customizable assets of the app, and you can have it on your phone or on your desktop. And I totally dig it. So we're going to walk through this a little bit. So this is mint.com. You just head here and you sign up for an account. You really need to go up and add your accounts. This is all your credit cards, this is all your banks, any financial institutions that you belong to with loans, any credit unions, anything and everything that your money is in, you can connect here. Now, obviously, one of the downfalls with this is cash. So if you deal a lot in cash, this is going to be a little bit more of a struggle with you, and you're going to have some manual input here. I still would suggest that if you are dealing in cash, if you are getting them from an ATM machine, that you can still track that transaction. That will be, I guess, like caught through this because you have your bank information in here, and it's all connected. So you would still be able to kind of track those transactions, but you would have to be very diligent about going back in and remembering that I took out $100 at the ATM. I spent 20 on gas, 10 on food, 5 on a gift. You would have to remember what those amounts were, and that can get a little bit tricky. So this is definitely easier for all of the electronic transactions that you do. So if you deal in cash, that's going to be a little bit harder, but still doable. So I just want to put that out there. So Mint is great because it connects to just tons of really popular accounts. I don't think they're, unless you have a very, very small town bank, I mean, even most of them are starting to get on board with putting their information in here. So most of your accounts should connect pretty easily. You just got to link them and then it'll all be there. So then this is kind of your overview. All of your accounts are listed on the left, and then you can see up top, you can check out your credit card, your credit score, figure out your bills, your budgets, your goals. We're going to go through a few of these things. So you can also look at your budget, which is amazing. So the budget part is really where you get into the nitty gritty. There are categories that you can use. You can make your own categories. This is where I was talking about where you want to track this over a couple of months just to see what money is going in and out, and then you'll be able to set your budget accordingly. So maybe gas and fuel. Normally I spend on average, $400. So that's going to be my budget for the next couple of months as I'm easing into this whole thing. And then after a while, I can say, you know what, like I know I can bring that down to $350. And you can actually go in and change that line item to fit your new budget. So this is what your transactions page looks at. So again, all of these are getting pulled from all of your accounts. So on the left, you can see all of my accounts are there, and then all of the transactions are listed on this screen. And the best part is you can click in. So that first one's highlighted there where it says clothing, and that wasn't actually a clothing purchase. So you can actually go in and edit those details. And again, so here's a kind of a listing of all of these transactions. You can tag them, which is really great. We just went on vacation, so I was able to tag all of our food that was on vacation as vacation food. And I put that as a separate line item in our budget for last month because that's not a typical expenditure for us. So it made it look like we busted our budget for the month, but I had already known, I knew we were going to be setting aside money for that. So I was able to tag that, and then I could go back and see exactly where I was spending my money on vacation. So I want to give an example of a time. This is kind of how diligent you're going to have to be into this tool. The tool's pretty smart. It knows generally what you're spending money on, and it'll assign it a category. So say, Potbelly, that they know that that's food, and they put that in under as like a restaurant. I change it to eating out because to me, I have a little bit different category for that. But at the top, you'll see that Walmart charge, and that says groceries, and that actually wasn't. Let's say that wasn't groceries. Let's say that's something else. So you can actually go up to edit details, and you can click through there. You have an option to drop down and see all the different categories. You can put whatever category it was. You can also add and edit categories in here, which is great. So let's say it was something to have to do with the kids, so I could just put that tag on there. Another thing that's great is you can add notes. So maybe this was something in particular you want to put a note in there. And then the rules is awesome. So maybe when you are at Walmart, you only shop for kids. So you can always put that rule in, and anytime Walmart transaction comes into it, it'll say kids, and then you don't have to keep doing it every single time. So there are a few things like certain restaurants that are for sure always going to be eating out. I can just put that little check mark next to the rules, and it will always come in that way. So here are some categories. They come with a whole bunch default, but you can add your own, which is great because every family has their own kind of way of categorizing things. I even have one category that is just Target because I have a Target card and I can add that account, but the Target card isn't necessarily going to, it all shows up as the same amount of money, but sometimes the Target charge is for a gift and it's not shopping. So I just have one pure category just for Target, and I also have that for another reason, which is that's definitely a sore spot for me and my own budgeting skills. Target, I go crazy in Target. I can't help it. So I know that I bring that out as its own category, and I set my own budget just for Target. And then that helps me focus on that. It's not part of the shopping budget that we have as a family. It's its own thing. So I know when I'm getting like really crazy on the Target thing because I have it set up. And then over here in your budget tool, again, this is really great because you can adjust it as needed. So down for, again, my auto and transportation, I have a goal of $570 a month to be spent on gas and fuel between two cars. And, if I am always under that for the next couple of months, then I'll adjust that down to like $525 because I know I can do it. And then over on the right, you're going to see what's left over for the month. That's how you can use their goals tool. So if you have money left over after you set your budget, Mint's going to be like, awesome. It seems like your budget's going to be great this month. You're going to have $500 left over. What should you do with it? And then you can go in and actually set some goals. But I really, really, really love their budget tool in here because it's very flexible to adjust. And then you can even click in and see every transaction under each of these categories. So you can see exactly where your money is going. You can also adjust your budget in here. You can do an every month and every few months. So I have a couple of utility bills that are a 6-month bill. So you can actually go in there and adjust that as well. There's my Target one where I, have my own Target goal right there. And then at the bottom, it will have everything else. That means that some transactions came in that month that did not fit into your categories. And so really important that you go in and you assign these miscellaneous charges to a budget item. You don't want to leave those hanging because it'll look like you're hitting your budget when in reality, you had a couple of restaurants in there that should have been categorized as food, but for some reason it didn't. So you don't want to leave any of those, everything else is hanging. Notifications are really, really good, especially for those of you who have a hard time remembering to do these things and remembering to stick to a budget. The notifications kind of help you with all this. So you can set your bill reminders, you can get advice emails, you can set a reminder if your balance gets low, you can set spending alerts if you're getting crazy. There are just so many good things here that you can kind of go in and get some push notifications for. I get high spending alerts every now and again, which is really, really nice. You can do the over budget if you are exceeding one of your budgets. So if you get towards the end of the month and you're already over on eating out, then you'll know just to stop. And then you can get goal notifications. So if you're getting close to that Cancun vacation, it's going to let you know, which is amazing as well. Okay, so you are now in control of all of this, right? Which is great. Like, you are here tonight, which is great. You're taking that first step. If there's one thing that I would say out of all of this is track your money. Like, if you don't take anything that I say seriously, you're not going to use Mint, which is crazy because I think it's really easy and really good once you get it set up. Just track your money. Just be aware of what is coming in and what is going out. Even if you don't set a budget, you're going to start seeing trends, whether you're paying close attention or not, because you're tracking that data that's coming in and out, and you're going to start to see it. Like, you're going to know that Target bill was much bigger this month than last month. You can't start any of this though without tracking your money. So one thing I will say, just to even get started after tonight, is figure out a way to track your money. If you're not going to use Mint, you can certainly use Excel. I did that for the first 6 years budgeting for my family, and it worked. It was just very manual, and you had to stay on top of it. Mint's a little bit easier for me because I can do that on the go on my phone as well. If I have an extra like 10, 15 minutes waiting on my kids to do something, I go into my Mint app and I start going through my transaction and making sure all the categories are set properly, and then Mint does the rest for me. So it doesn't really take that much time once you get it set up. And tracking your money is just so imperative to financial success. You got to know where your money is going. and then you'll get it. You'll have it. That's that's basically it. I mean, it's really not too bad once you get it set up and get going. And I'm telling you, there's just so much freedom in knowing exactly where your money is going, what's coming in, and what's going out. And you don't have to limit yourself. You can still have some fun, but just knowing you can have fun guilt-free is even better. So let's see. Let me see if I can switch back here. Okay, so does anybody have any questions about all of that? I'm sure that was a lot. I'm sorry if I was like rambling on. It's really weird talking to a screen and like not talking to people. So I don't even know. That could have all just been horrible. Who knows? But I hope you guys learned something. Yes, Mint is free. I think Mint probably makes their money on advertising as well as they are always giving you like credit card offers, not like super spammy like in your inbox or anything, but just like off to the side. There will be like, hey, have you thought about the Capital One Quicksilver because you spent a shit ton of money on flights and you could be earning more miles. So I think it's more of a lead generation for them where they get you by having this amazing tool. And then, there might be some things that they kind of share with you. So let's see. Any other questions? Hey, Ruthie, you're going to have to catch the replay, man. We're just wrapping up. Let's see if there's any other questions. Now's the time to chat. Otherwise, I mean, I'm here, so let me know anytime. Any other budget resources? As far as what I use personally, no. I mean, there are tons of budget resources out there. I used to use an app that I really, really enjoyed, Prosper Daily. And they just took it off. This is part of the reason why I made the switch to Mint. They just took it off the App Store, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago. And it like killed me because that was part of how I was tracking all of my transactions in my Excel worksheet, which sounds a little crazy, but it worked for me. And that was a pretty decent budgeting app, but Mint is way better. There are a few others out there, and I can't think of them off the top of my head when I was doing my research on trying to find the next budgeting app that I wanted to use. And Mint seemed to be the leader out there pretty much across the board. I think some people were kind of like me that had their own personal favorites, but Mint seemed to be the best way to go about it. So let's see. Any other questions? Well, other than that, I hope you guys had a great Friday. And I hope a good start to your weekend. Oh man, my week was crazy. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready for the weekend. And my daughter headbutted me tonight. Do you guys get headbutted by your kids? She didn't mean to, but all the time I'm getting headbutted, and I feel like my nose is, I like heard the crunch noise, and like I feel like my nose is like half busted up now, but I don't know. She does that to me all the time. Okay. You get hip checked. Yeah. Kids just don't have like any awareness of their surroundings or where their limbs are going or anything. And then it just ends up whacking me. My oldest busted my permanent retainer that I have behind these front teeth, and I had to get that replaced when he was like 3. So yeah, I just seem to get beat up in the face area. And I don't know why. I don't know why that is. Oh my God. That's okay. I still love them. So, that's all right. Okay. So if anybody else doesn't have any other questions, Ruthie, I know you joined a little bit late. Sorry. You can catch this replay. It's recording right now. So I'm going to try to, I'll try to post it in the group. Megan, did you have any questions before we jump off? It's okay if you don't. I just want to make sure. Not a problem, Ruthie. Friday nights are hard. I get it. But the thing is, when I schedule these, like any night is hard. We're all busy or we're all tired and in bed by now. So it's tough scheduling these. So I pretty much know it's going to be caught on the replay. So it's totally okay. All right. I will sign off then. If you guys have any questions, feel free to message me. And if you want like a better Mint tutorial, this was just kind of my first stab at running through this, let me know. But pretty straightforward. And hardest part is getting in there and getting all those accounts verified and set up. It's not even that hard. It's just you have to take the time to do it, and you have to take the time to remember how many accounts you have. Because I remember when I first set it up, I forgot to put my husband's credit cards in there, and for a while I thought we were rolling in it. And it turns out I'd forgotten to put one of the accounts in. So just make sure you have all those things in there, and then start categorizing everything very specifically, and each transaction, make sure it's under the right category, and then check out the budget tool, set your budget, start with the average, and then you can work your way down from there as it makes sense, and then you'll be able to set some goals after that. So that's it. How'd you talk about your husband's name? Oh yeah. So I touched on it a little bit on the communication piece, Ruthie, but really I will say, luckily in my household, my husband was okay with like stepping back from this part of it. He wasn't super inclined to get involved in the financial conversations. He trusted what I was doing. I've always been uber organized, so that part of it wasn't too hard. The hard part is whenever I have to come at the end of a month and say, hey man, like we totally ate out too much this week and we need to cut back. Or like it was awesome. We had 2 date nights, but those each cost $100 each. And that was too much for us for this month. So those are the harder conversations, and he honestly takes it really well. I would say the only time it gets like really awkward is if it's like a super like personal thing. Like I know for sure it's something that he spent too much money on, and it's really never about that specific thing. It's never me going to him saying, hey, you know, that thing you purchased that was too much. It's not about that. It's not about the item, or it's not about the actual transaction. You can always pivot that conversation about the budget. So you can say like, hey, you know, our shopping budget, our line item for that per month is $300, and this month we hit $500, and that was too much for us, so we have to really peg it back. So you don't have to go in and be like, you know, those Nikes you bought, like those were too expensive and that was not within our budget. Like that never goes well. So it's more of a conversation for us anyway. It's more of a conversation about that budget item as a whole. Because we both make mistakes. So, and nobody is perfect when it comes to budgeting and spending. So one day it may be something he bought on eBay that put us over the top, and then the next day it's me in Target. So it's never really about the specific item. So I would never really go that route. I would try to avoid that, because then it starts becoming a competition, and that's kind of where that resentment might come in a little bit. I would really come back to that budget conversation. Excuse me. And that's why it's like really important to understand exactly where it's coming and going. Dave Ramsey. Yeah. Dave Ramsey's off very, very good resource for all of this. Yep. Exactly. Dave says the same thing. It can be uncomfortable for sure. But again, I kind of sidestep the uncomfortable portion by not ever placing blame on a specific item or a specific transaction. Bring it back to the budget line, like the whole thing. The category was 500. We spent 600. Doesn't matter who the one was that put us over the top, or what the item was that put us over the top. Just know that next month we can't do that. And that's usually that's always worked for us. I won't guarantee it's going to work for everyone, but yeah, keep a goal. Exactly. What's your objective? If your objective is to hit that budget for that month, and it just so happened that particular splurge took you over, it doesn't really matter it doesn't really help to kind of call them out on it. You don't want that resentment and build up, and you don't want them to feel uncomfortable making purchases or how you're going to approach them about it next month. And you don't want the financial conversation to be something that you're dreading. So not that it's fun, and it's not like I'm like, hey babe, let's have our monthly budget meeting. Like that's bullshit. That's not how it works. But he also knows it's a painless process. Even though it's not fun, I'm not sitting there, doing that. And I'm not berating myself either for splurging at Target one month. We make mistakes. That's okay. Get back on track. Next month we have to do better. And that budget is always there to remind you. And whenever you get those alerts from Mint, then you're getting close. And the other thing I will do, is I'll send texts to him throughout the month. So if we're getting close to the end of the month and we are like right up against it for like the eating out thing, I'll just text him and just, hey, we're really close to our budget. So just keep that in mind for the next week. No big deal. Like, it's not accusational at all. I don't care. And he doesn't care. It's just a, hey, because he doesn't know. I'm in the tool all the time and he isn't. So that's not very fair for him, for the decisions that he's making day to day, because he's not in the know like I am. It's not very fair for me to not communicate that with him. So it's just, don't be accusational about it. Just be very factual. We are $100 away from going over, or we're $10 away from going over. And that's usually pretty helpful. So, let's see, anything else before we jump off? Maybe, maybe not. I hope this was fun. Was this good? I hope so. I think it's helpful. So many people have trouble with budgeting, and it is a pain in the ass. So I was trying to be just a little helpful for everybody. So I hope that worked for you guys. And if you have any questions, feel free to private message me. I'm always open to a conversation. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a really great weekend. Stay warm if you guys are out in the East Coast. Ruthie, are you getting snow right now? I don't know. Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I've got some friends out in the East. They're just hammered right now. So yeah, I'm just sitting here like, when is spring? But at least we don't have snow on the ground. So yeah, me too. Super, super over it. All right, ladies. Thank you guys for jumping on. I will put the replay in the group as soon as I can, and I will talk to you guys next week. See you later.